I'm going to be talking to you, but sometimes people online are wondering, why are you not looking at me, Michael? And guess what? I want you to still feel included. Just know that you're a part of what's going on. And I'm going to make sure I look at everyone that is here, but not to forget about you. So please, whatever you want to know, if you have a question, please feel free to ask. And Ari, if anyone have a question, raise your hand for real. Um, no matter when during this time, just raise your hand. So we've been doing this series. The series is Grace Wins Every Time. It came from a song that said there's a war between guilt and grace, and they're fighting for a sacred space, but I'm living proof that grace wins every time. Now, because it's a series, we went through a lot. We went through a lot. We talked about, guilt. We talked about grace. We talked about forgiveness. We talked about, how we can change our mind from feeling guilty, how we can change our mind from feeling like we're not good enough. I do want to dive in. And while we just here, anyone have any questions? While we here and just waiting, do we have any questions that we want to just bring up? Okay, so we hear the question, what is grace? And grace is an invisible power that comes to heal us, come to restore us, come to heal us from the inside out. Grace is an invisible power that comes to heal, restore, and complete. Now, I learned about grace based on God's power, knowing what God's power is. And so we know that heaven is all about healing. And we know heaven is all about restoration is because we all were separated, but God came up with a plan to bring us back. And so one thing that we realize about God is he wanted to complete that perfect work that he started. So that's the amazing part. Now, I do want to bring out some points, but I do want to ask as many questions as we can because it's the last day. It's the last day of the series. So I want you guys to think and ponder or the things that you probably ponder on during this series just to bring up. So any questions right now? If not, we can just start going through some old slides and just recapping. All right, maybe we just gonna go through some slides and recap. So this is one of the scriptures that we brought out during this series. God saved you by his grace when you believed. Oh my gosh. So you see, like, once you believed, boom, what happened? He saved you by his grace. And you can't take credit for this. It is a gift from God. A lot of people think that their actions are the reason why they are saved. A lot of people think their actions are the reason why God is not going to forgive them. A lot of people, they just think like, man, yeah, God's not going to forgive me because of my actions. Or look how I've been acting. And instead of seeing like, no, God, that's his whole plan. His whole plan is to bring forgiveness. His whole plan is to bring healing. His whole plan is to bring restoration, to make you a perfect work. And so this is a powerful scripture because some of you guys are going to need to remember this in those hard times of your life when you're thinking like, man, I don't know if I can move forward spiritually. I don't know if I can operate in spiritual gifts. You need this because you can see that it was a gift from God. Salvation is a gift from God. You can't take credit for this. Salvation is not a reward. Oh my gosh. And the crazy thing is, we like rewards. We like doing something to get a reward. I used to love that in school, where you do something good, you get a reward for it. But here's the thing. Salvation is not that. Salvation is not a reward for the good things we have done. Why? Because none of us can boast about it. If it was based on how good we are and the good things that we could do, then guess what? We can boast. We can say, "Oh, you know what? I'm God doing this because I'm good. Like, you got to do this because I'm doing this. I'm good. I'm good enough." For we are God's masterpiece. Oh, man, do we believe that about ourselves? That's something I struggled with, just knowing that I am his masterpiece. A masterpiece is something like the person that is creating that masterpiece takes it seriously, loves it, smiles upon it. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. Oh, my gosh. It's so much to impact in that scripture, for real. Anybody want to share anything on this recap? No one. All right, let's move to the next slide, another recap slide. Extreme or excessive concern with sin. So if a Christian is constantly focused on their own sin or the sins of others, this could be a sign that they don't fully believe in the power of God's forgiveness. I'm going to let that sit there for a second because, you know, there's times where we do something wrong and we do feel bad about it. And that's a normal response. The only problem is that we allow ourselves to think about it more than that minute. We allow ourselves to think about it 5 more minutes longer, 10 more minutes longer, 20 more minutes, an hour. Now it becomes a day, a week, month, and now you have been walking in that guilt for years. And that's one thing I wanted to bring out is that it's our extreme or excessive concern with sin that is the problem. That is the problem. All right. Any concerns, questions, or comments on that? I'm doing this for everything because it's our last night for this series. Next slide, a recap slide. For he was looking ahead and included them and what he would do in this present time. God did this to demonstrate his righteousness. Oh my gosh, his righteousness. Wow, look, this is what demonstrated his righteousness, is including us. Like, and for he himself is fair and just, and he makes sinners right in his sight when they believe in Jesus. I mean, it's some of these scriptures we probably never read. We probably never read it. And so we forgot. Sometimes I remind people is that the Bible is a story. The Bible is a story. So you can be reading the Old Testament, looking at the Old Testament, and then forget that it's changed after that. But if you are reading it and just thinking that everything is the same, then guess what? It's going to hurt you. But if you can read it and say, oh, at this point of the time, it was like this. Oh, wow, when Jesus came on the scene, this happened. Wow, after Jesus raised from the dead, this happened. You get me? You will see. And so all of this, these scriptures that I'm showing is after Jesus raised from the dead, and this is Paul telling us about things that we really didn't know about. We didn't know that God considered himself fair and just by making sinners right, by believing. Oh, man, it just shows you how good of a God he is. It's just like, for real, God, you want us to believe, and us believing is very powerful. That's a powerful thing. That's something that you want us to do, which will show how righteous you are. And then the next verse, 27, can we boast then? No, we can't boast that we have done anything to be accepted by God. We can't even boast about it. No, because our acquittal is not based on obeying the law. Oh, my gosh. It says it right there. I'm not even saying this. Sometimes preach about this, and then everybody just think I'm just making things up. And no, it's right there. It says our acquittal is not based on obeying the law. It is based on what? Oh my gracious. It is based on faith. So we are made right with God through what? So why are we saying we are made right through God based on our actions, or based on how good we are, based on how many laws we follow? Like that, it doesn't say that. It said it's based on our faith. So we are made right with God through faith and not by obeying the law. I'm telling you guys. We brought up the example about the GPS and then you using a natural map. When you're using a natural map, what? You're using your own intellect, your own strength to find your destination. When you're using a GPS and you don't know where to go, you're using faith to believe that this GPS will find your destination. That's what we're doing with God. We're saying is, God, I'm in an unfamiliar place, but I know you know the end destination, and so I'm going to put my faith, put my trust, put everything in believing that you're going to make sure that I get to my destination. I'm for real. I just want to, for real, we really could just read this and just go home and then come back and read this and go home and come back and read this, go home, and for real, we'll be free every day. Because a lot of things that we brought out in the scripture is the real reason why we don't pray for the sick, why we don't prophesy, why we look at ourselves in a bad way, while we look at others in a wrong way, where we feel like you have to do something good enough to be speaking up here, or you have to do something good enough for you to go pray for somebody or operate in the spirit. So you see, like, I like this. The scripture is just amazing. Okay, so let me give you guys an opportunity to talk about it. Anyone want to share something? Okay, come on now.
You're saying, to have the faith and use the example of the GPS versus the map. But, even sometimes when you're using that GPS, you can go somewhere and all of a sudden you hit traffic still. You're like, man, it still didn't work. But then you look at the other routes and you're realizing, oh, well, there was cops here, there was a wreck, and then it says that I was going to be there even like an hour later than expected. So it's even having faith within that itself, you know what I mean? And so just sticking with it.
I like that because one thing I learned, and I even put this in my book, is that even you following the path of God, there's going to be resistance. There's going to be some times of where you're like, what is going on? What's happening? And then I gave this example in my book. I said, my daughter, I had my first daughter, and I didn't even want to put clothes on her because I felt like she was so small and I was going to break her bones. I didn't even want to put clothes on her. And so my wife, she did not mind. She would put clothes on her, and then my wife started picking her up by 2 fingers, like picking her up and having her to stand. And I was just like, no, don't do that. But she was trying to get her ready to walk. But me, I was just like, no, let's wait. So the thing is that as me, all I was just thinking about is I don't want her to be hurt. I don't want her to be hurt because when she began to start walking, guess what? She may trip over something. She may fall and hurt herself. Now, here's the thing that I learned is that God, right, he could just carry us through our whole life. He can, right? Now, if he carries you through your whole life, then you won't have no opportunity to help anyone. Now, if I carried my daughter through her whole life, just like she is never going to walk, I'm not going to never let her walk, I was just going to carry her and just keep her safe, right? Then guess what? She would never learn how to reach her destination or help somebody else. And so, guess what? When she was trying to walk, there was times where she saw it was a truck right there or a toy, and she stumbled over it. But guess what? Because I was there. I just picked her up, and then I said, you know what? I can't stop her from walking. I just got to keep encouraging her. And so as she began to keep walking, guess what? There's times where she may fall. There's times where she may stumble. But I know that I can see her walking. I can see her running. And so as she begins to walk forward, as she begins to run forward, guess what? She began to start teaching her sister when her sister was born. So now she has taught somebody how to walk, taught somebody how to run. And that is the benefit of having a father that says, hey, I know like this world is dangerous. I know there are some things that may happen that try to stop you because we have a devil that's trying to steal, kill, and destroy. And the thing is God could just hold us and just walk us through the whole time. And then guess what? Nobody else will be helped. But through that time of us walking and learning how to walk, there's going to be times where we fall. Did I make my daughter fall? No, I wasn't the cause of that. And that's the one thing. We almost blame God because we think he was the cause of a lot of the stuff that happened. Like me, when I was being touched on by somebody that wasn't supposed to touch on me, that wasn't God. It's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm about to build Michael up. So I'm about to do this to him. Like, no, that's not him. That's the block. I was trying to walk and I'm just walking and guess what? It was a toy there. It was something there that made me fall. It's the devil. The devil wants to steal, kill, destroy you. There is things that's in your life. I even learned too. I learned something. I said, like, people punish people. Like, let's just say, for example, you stepped on my foot. And you say sorry. It's up to me to say, okay, it's okay. Or you step on my foot and then I say, what? Push you. Now, guess what? You did something wrong, but you apologized. And now it was up to me to show you some either mercy or punishment. And that's what happens in our life majority of the time. A lot of us are hurt from people that's just making a decision of, hey, instead of giving mercy, I'm just going to show punishment. And a lot of the times we would say, like, man, that was just God just punishing me. God was just, everywhere I go, it's just something bad is happening to me. Instead of looking at it as like, hey, when you're trying to walk, as you get better at walking, you begin to learn how to, like, oh, well, it's a toy right there. I'm just going to move over. Or, oh, my gosh, it's a whole section of toys I'm going to jump over. So it's us just maturing, us learning, us seeing things that's, oh, you know what? I remember that last time. Like, you know how many people almost try to play with the socket? Like, that's not good. You may get electrocuted. But guess what? Somebody there is just saying, hey, no, don't touch that. And sometimes people have learned a lesson. Some people have shocked themselves. They realize, like, oh, you know what? I would never do that again. But all of these things, and I'm just trying to make a point, is just help you to see is like, because of all these things that is happening to you that's negative, it's not God. There is a negative force out there that's trying to steal, kill, and destroy you. And would do whatever to stop you, any type of way. Okay, I just had to go and talk about that a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Anybody else want to talk? Say anything based on what we're talking about before we moved on to the more recaps. Anybody? All right, more recap slides. Where are we at? Okay, so we also talked about the subconscious mind. And the subconscious is the part of our minds that makes decisions without our needing to actively think about them. I remember we was talking about our subconscious mind is our autopilot, to where we don't have to think, we just do it because we've been doing it over and over and over. Once you begin to start creating a habit, you don't even have to think about it. You just get up and do it. Like, so What else? The subconscious mind also stores all of your memories, thoughts, and feelings that you may not be aware of at that moment. That is so important because remember we brought up the example is that some of us, you may look at a person and say, why every time I look at them, it's just like I feel this certain type of way, like, and that came from your subconscious mind. You stored a memory of them hurting you, a memory of them harming you, or even let's just talk about positive, a memory of them helping you, giving you something. And so now, once you see them, your brain just say, "Oh yeah, this is the feeling and emotions you feel when you see them." And so that's why a lot of relationships, let's just say friendships, all type of, even families break up. Why? Because of this right here. Something happened in the family. Like I even told y'all a story about me and my brother. We got into a fight where he embarrassed me in front of almost the whole school. He had me crying in front of everybody. And guess what? I was just like, I basically hated him after that. It's just like, bro, I cannot never see you the same. So guess what? It got to a point to where anytime I see him or anytime I was around him, I had that memory, I had that thought, and I had that feeling. And so if you want to see a change, we have to step away from our subconscious mind and then begin to be more conscious, to be more aware. So sometimes these hidden thoughts and feelings can affect how you feel or act without you even realizing it. Anyone want to talk about the subconscious mind? I want you really to get it. So that's the thing. I'll be trying to speed through. We rarely have some time. So I don't want you to just be thinking like, man, I heard that word before, but I do not know what that means, So we need to break it down some more. I really want you to know what that means. The conscious mind is the part of your mind that you use when you are awake and aware of what's happening. It's the part of your mind that helps you make decisions, solve problems, and learn new things. So if you're not making decisions, solving problems, and learning new things, you're basically operating out of your subconscious mind. But when you are making decisions, like say just a little, let's just say a little example is going to a restaurant and picking something new. That's being conscious. Me, I go in a restaurant with my subconscious mind all the time. Everybody that know me knows I just go in there and just like, you know what? I got that before. I'm going to get it again. So solving problems and learning new things, just being more conscious, being more aware. And we talked about why that's important because there are certain things that we have said about ourselves a long time ago when we were younger, or somebody said something about us. Or one thing that I heard for years was that I was soft. I heard for years that I was soft. And then I remember one time I went to the park and I was with my brothers. And it was some people playing on the other side. They was playing basketball. It's two sides, and one was playing on the other side. And then I told them, I said, hey, we're going to go to this park, but we're going to play on this side. We're not going to play with them. We're not going to play with these guys. We're going to play by ourselves. And then my brother was like, okay, cool. And so we played on the other side. And finally, the other people on the other side of the court came to us and said, hey, let's play a game. And guess what? I told my brother, no, let's not play. And he said, no, for real, one game. I was like, okay, cool. And so we played a game, it gets physical. The game gets physical because, for real, we winning. And now, I remember my younger brother was tussling with some guy, and it was physical. And so, I'm all right in basketball. I'm not really that good. I'm probably better in other sports, but I hit the game-winner shot. So I hit the game-winning shot, and then I'm ready to walk off. Now, crazy thing is we got dress clothes on. We got dress clothes, dress shoes, everything. Hit the game-winning shot. I'm about to walk off the court. And then the guy was like, play another rematch. And I'm just like, Remember I told you I didn't want to play this game in the first place. And so then I began to start working off, and the guy said, you know, you soft. And then when he said that, it was like a movie played of 5 years old hearing it, 7 years old hearing it, 10 years old hearing it, 13, like I heard, it was just like I played every time somebody called me that in my mind. And then I responded to the guy like, well, let's fight then. Because it was like, I really flipped. I flipped out, didn't even think about, wasn't conscious, wasn't aware of what was going on. I just was like, oh, don't call me that. And so the reason why I brought that up is because there's a lot of things that has happened in our lives a long time ago, and the way that we're acting now is based on what has happened or what somebody said. And so guess what? The only way that I can find freedom is to begin to start looking at myself and telling myself who I am, to the point to where if somebody call me soft, that it don't lead to me wanting to fight the whole world. and the thing is like, I remember that day. I was so angry that day that I even was dogging my brothers. I was just, my brothers was trying to hold me back, and I was just, get off me. And I was just like, why are you? I mean, I'm just going off on everybody. And once that was over, I realized like, oh my gosh, dang, like that had a hold of me. And so a lot of our actions is just based on some of the old things that just has happened to us, or the same, or things we thought about ourselves. Or you know what? Like somebody told me that I was soft, but I never spoke something better in my life. I never said like, oh no, Michael, you are a strong man. You are, well, I mean, I was young then, but it's just like, yo, you're a strong boy. You love people, and you being sensitive to people doesn't make you soft. Like, just speaking life into myself. But I didn't do that. So I only share that just to, be more transparent with you guys and help you guys share their story, but let's look at another recap slide. And since it is through God's kindness, then it is not by their good works. For in that case, God's grace would not be what it really is, free. So one thing we also learned about is more about grace. And since it is through God's kindness, so, man, it's based on God's kindness, not based on our works. Our good works is Him. He's good. For in that case, God's grace would not be what it is, free. So, oh my gosh, for real, I really want you to focus on this. It said, if it was based on our good works, then it wouldn't be free. It would be based on we deserve it. It was a reward. But it's free because it wasn't based on our works. That is the most scariest thing. People don't want to preach like that because they're looking for people to react right away. People are looking for people to change right away. That's why a lot of people don't speak about this. People don't want to say like, hey, it's not based on your good works. It's a free gift. It's not a reward, because they want people to react differently, fast. It's like you see somebody else. Like, I mean, for real, even with our children, like for real, if I tell my child to sit down, I really want her to sit down right away, And not even thinking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, she's not even as mature yet. Because if she was mature enough, she would see like, oh, wow, my father knows what's best for me. So he wants me to sit down because there's a benefit in this. And that's the same thing about us when it comes down to our relationship and walking in our spiritual life, is that as we begin to be with the presence of God, as we begin to have more communion with God, to know the benefits of obeying Him, the benefits of trusting Him, the benefits of putting our faith in Him, then it'd be nothing to listen to Him. And I say this often, it's like the first thing that comes is first we have to be able to hear from God. If you don't know how to hear from God, how are you going to obey? I can't obey anyone that I can't hear. I mean, for real. If my father is living in Cleveland, he can call my name right now. I can't hear him, can I? So it don't matter. My father could be talking right now, just like, Michael, please, can you go do this? And I'm just like, Dad, I never heard you. So the first thing we got to do is be able to hear from God. That's the first thing, is being able to hear from God. Second thing is knowing that he loves us. Knowing that he wants the best for us. Anything you love, you want the best of. You believe it's the best. You believe it's valuable. It's worth it. So it's like the first thing that we got to know is like, oh, God wants the best for me. So we know how to hear from him. We learn how to hear. We learn that he wants the best for us. And then because we know he wants the best for us, then we can trust him. Because whatever he tells us, we know that it's a benefit. It's a benefit of anything he tells us. Is it making sense? All right, anyone, come on now. Talk to me. I ain't supposed to be talking that much today. Anybody else? Anybody online? Anyone saying something? Asking questions? Ask. For real, I try not to talk as much. I want you guys to talk back to me. You raised your hand, Greta? Okay. Okay. Do we have more on that paper? We do? Okay. Next. Okay. We did this. We did this project last week, and I told you guys I still only see blue and black. I only see blue and black on his dress. What color do you see? See? He see blue and black. See? Blue and black. Yeah. What color? You see blue and black? You saw blue and black last time? I thought you said, no, I thought everybody in here saw gold and white. Yeah, last time. Okay. Gold and white? Gold and white. Look at that. Yeah. Last time I was the only one. Yeah, I was the only one that saw blue and black. And so we learned that our brain, we all can look at the same thing and our brain will see something different. We all will have a different perspective based on the way our life has been like structured. And we learn is that if you see blue and black, that you're a night owl, that meaning that you don't see a lot of sunlight. A lot of sunlight has not been in your life. So if you see gold and white, that means that you have been in sunlight all the time. You're more of a person that's just like, yo, where's the sun? I'm in the sun. I want to be in the sun. Oh, yeah, the blue and black is, they consider those night owls, people that stay majority in the dark, stay away from the sun. So it's just like, if you're the type of person that stay up all night, but then even when the sun come up, you still find yourself more in the house or more in the shade than you are in the sun, then they say you will see more blue or black. So, or you like Evelyn, she's sleepy. No. Are you? Okay, never mind. No matter. So, another thing that we learned, you see, this is the whole benefit of a series. You see, that is a lot we learned. What we learned? Decide what you want, right? All right, say it out loud. I need you guys to remember that. Decide what you want. That's the first thing. A lot of what do we learn is that God don't know what to do for you. I told somebody this. Somebody said this to me. They said, man, I'm just waiting. They said this guy was, trying to move forward in their relationship. And they was just like, but I don't know if I really want to move forward and then I asked them the question. I said, do you want to be married? Like, do you want to? And then they was just like, well, to tell you the truth, I really don't know. I don't know. I really want to do what God want me to do. And I was just like, any good father won't make a child do something like on some. He won't force them to do something. Any good father would not force a child to do something. A good father will allow the child to make a decision, and that father would support them. The father would give them good pathways of like, hey, if you go this way, this would be a good thing. If you go this way, but a good father would never force their child to make a decision. And so the thing is like, what I was trying to convince her is, what do you want? Like, if you know what you want, then you begin to start treating yourself different, and then you begin to start treating people around you that's bringing negativity to you. You will start understanding like, oh, you know what? Every time I'm around this group is bringing the worst out of me. Yeah, you would start to see that like, oh, you know what? This group is bringing the worst out of me. But here's what I told you guys before is as you begin to start speaking life into yourself, get in the presence of God, build yourself up, guess what? You begin to get around those people, and now you change them. But at first, you have to begin to build yourself up. You have to begin to see yourself differently before somebody else can see you differently. And I know we all have witnessed people that have saw the future us and they spoken to the future us, even though they didn't see it right now. They looked at us and say, man, I see you here and you're not even there yet. But guess what? Now you're there. I mean, all of us was not where we were before, right? Come on now. For some of us, just start prophesying. And it haven't even been a year since we prophesied. Some of us, it haven't even been a year yet. We just started prophesying. All right. Man, I told you it's hard to do. Oh, no, go back. Sorry. All right. We want to decide what you want, and then what do we want to do next? Visualize what you want. We want to visualize what you want. And what example did we bring up? Is we squeeze. So all the new people that, oh, no, you did. Yeah, you did a lemon. Okay, Joe, you're going to have to squeeze lemon juice in your mouth. Act like you're squeezing lemon juice in your mouth. Yeah. Yeah, act like you're just squeezing lemon juice in your mouth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just act like it. Yeah, just, come on, bro. Squeeze it in there. Squeeze it. It's lemon. Huh? Okay. Are you visualizing as a lemon? Okay, visualize that as a lemon and squeeze it in your mouth. All right, how you feel after that? You feel, did you see yourself drinking it? Eating it? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Close your.
Imagine that you have this yellow lemon in your hand and that you're squeezing it. And imagine seeing the juice. No, but you got to really imagine it. You got to think about it.
Yeah, come on. You got to do this. You're the only one that hasn't. Everybody else did it. So we all do it with you. We all do it again, even though we already felt that. I feel it again. I ain't even doing it. I feel it. All right, go ahead. It's just more of like, if you was eating that lemon juice, what did you feel like if you was eating it? Did you feel like? You felt, yeah, like you felt that little sour feeling that you feel after you eat it. So the thing is that what we learn based on visualizing is that our brain doesn't know the difference from visualizing or imagining or our reality. Our brain doesn't know the difference. So that is a big point for us to remember, is that if we visualize, the more we keep visualizing, the more that it can become our reality. So we can create our reality by visualizing, by thinking about it, by seeing ourselves in the future. Some of you guys, you're like, man, I need a new job. And then you begin to start visualizing, seeing yourself at that new job. And what did we bring up about the story? We brought up the story that proved it about, like, even Jesus said that, hey, you have to believe that you what first? Received it. He said you have to believe that you received it first, and then it will happen. So the first thing we got to do if we want to see new things happen in our life is what? We got to believe it, that we received it. So that means if I want a new car, I have to see myself driving that new car. You want to know what I've been doing lately? Because I really want this one car. And it's going to be crazy. I'll tell you guys what it is. So then when I drive it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, remember Michael, you said that? For real. I want this. I even want I want a muscle car. I want a muscle car, for real. And so one of the muscle cars that's like newer now is like the Challenger. So I like the Challengers. So every day, it's this Challenger that's in my job garage. And I would just walk past it, and I'd just be like, oh, hey, twin. I say that's my, because you know when you drive in your certain vehicle and then you see somebody else driving that same vehicle, you be like, oh, we got the same car. So that's what I do now. When I see it, I'm like, oh, hey, twin. Like, oh, I got one. Like, I got one of those. And so now I even see myself driving it too. And so every time now when I'm driving, and I'm driving my Volkswagen, and I see somebody in a Challenger, I immediately start imagining that I'm in the Challenger saying, hey, twin to them. Like, hey, like we looking at each other like, hey, we got the same car. So you see what I mean? Like I'm visualizing what I want to see. I'm receiving it like it's already now, so it can be my now. And we don't have a lot of time, but there's so many stories of people that have learned how to receive like they have it now, and it came. Why? Because Jesus said it was possible. I'm telling you, sometimes we have got so used to the impossible that we don't think anything is possible. And Jesus said that if you believe and don't doubt, nothing will be impossible for you. Nothing. He said nothing. So yeah, I'm using a lot of natural things because for real, we talk a lot about spiritual things, and you guys know I'm a big believer about building ourselves up. And the most important, what we got to do, we have to be in the presence of God. We have to worship. Worship is for our soul, for our mind, emotions, our intellect. Every time we're in the presence of God, guess what? He's healing us. He's sending his grace to heal us from the inside out. So now that's why when you leave, you're wondering like, man, I know I'm different. I don't know when it happened. Like, Joe, don't you feel like you're different? But tell me, when did it happen? You can't even tell me. I can't even tell you when I changed. I don't know. I just remember like, man, wow, I was like that. I remember. I can go through the whole line. Like, Jerome, are you the same? Like, when did it happen? I don't even know. Like, for real, you just like, man, I ain't gonna lie. I remember one time I just barely believed, and next thing you know, I'm running down the aisle. I don't know. Now that's all I do now. Now you can't even stop me from running. You can't stop me from jumping. I don't know when that happened. For real, it's so many people that I know that used to be so shy, and they didn't want to do anything because somebody would look at them, and now they just singing, worshiping, walking around, dancing around, because it don't even matter anymore. Like all they can see is the goodness of God and celebrate it. All they can feel is the joy of the Lord. The joy of the Lord is their strength. The joy of the Lord is the reason why they dance, the reason why they sing, the reason why they lift their hands. Man, I be wishing we had so much time, don't we? So we gotta believe that you have received it. Oh my gosh, we ain't even stepped into today's slides. Hey, just skip all the way to today. Okay. I want you to know the same thoughts leads to the same choices, okay? The same thoughts leads to the same choices. The same choices lead to the same behaviors. We're going to stay right there for a minute, Ari. The same behaviors create the same experiences. The same thoughts leads to the same choices. I was wondering why things wasn't happening. Like, I remember I told y'all before, I know what it's like to not have, to be in need and to be begging or to think that you're cursed or there's nothing good that's gonna happen. And the more I kept thinking of it like that, the more it just kept manifesting. But then I began to start, let me say, I changed the way I thought when one of my mentors came to me and he said, "You're a son. So these things that you're asking for, he wants to give it to you." And then I was just like, "For real? You sure?" So I'm not gonna lie. There are times where we gonna find ourselves stuck. And thank God that he sends people to help us. God sends people to help us. He never leaves us where we at. He never leaves us stuck. He always sends somebody to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm about to send this person to you because you're hard of hearing in that area." And it's no problem with that. Like I told you, it's just like I can hear you guys. If you guys speaking to me, I can hear you. But if you was right there and I'm all the way at the street, now it's not like I don't want to hear you. I just can't hear you based on my circumstance, based on where I'm at, you know? And so that's what has happened is that there is times where we can believe in what God is telling us, but then there's times where we're hard of hearing because of distractions or circumstances or the way we see ourselves, or we think this is God's will for us. That's one thing, guys. You have to know what's the will of God if you're going to say this is God's will. That's the first thing you got to say. If you want to say this is the will of God, first go find out what's the will of God. The will of God is what's happening on heaven, in heaven. What's happening in heaven? Start naming some things. Just start naming some. What do you think? What's happening in heaven? Huh? Yeah. Okay. 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 I like. How are people feeling in heaven? They feeling good? You said happy. Are people in pain? Okay. So we all know that they're not in pain. Are people feeling guilty? No. We all know that. So then that's the will of the God then. That he wants the pain to be gone. So it's not just emotional pain. It's not just physical pain. It's all types of pain. He wants that to be gone. He wants death to be gone. You want to know why death is so terrible? Because it just, once someone dies, then everybody else that was associated with them or loved them begins to start feeling bad or feel a certain type of way or feel the loss or feel the grief, right? And so what it do? It just kind of creates that distance where now they separate themselves from the whole world, from people, from families, just because of a death. So death ain't life. Death ain't something that was bringing light or bringing love, or you see. And so God wants to get rid of all of that. So that's a whole subject. The whole will of God is just a whole message in itself. All right, let's go to the next slide. Oh my gosh. You will have to pay attention to your automatic habits and behaviors and change them. So, we talked about this some weeks ago, is that if you're struggling with insecurities, write on a mirror that you are handsome or that you are beautiful. And every day, get up and say it until it becomes your subconscious mind, to where it becomes a part of you. But it's not going to be a part of you by you just of me just telling you that, hey, you're beautiful. No, we have to keep. Scientist says that a belief comes by you, like you repeating to yourself, like you're repeating to yourself. You're constantly thinking about it to the point to you say, yo, this is the state of being. This is correct. This is what I believe. So if we struggle with insecurities, you want to put. I remember I had to do that. I had a whole list of things, of affirmations to say to myself. I would say, yo, I am handsome. I said, I am smart. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna put this up. I know we ain't got time, but I just want to give you guys an example, like a real true example. Okay, no, I didn't say that. Dang, what did I call it? I'm looking at my notes and I don't even know what I called it. Yeah, I forgot what I called it, so I can't even find it. But what I would say to myself was like that I was handsome, that I was smart, that I was intelligent, that I was very creative, that I operated in all spiritual gifts. I said I was 100% accurate at words of knowledge, that I hear names, I hear dates, I know their whole life story. I'm trying to remember everything that I was writing, but these are the things that I was writing before I believed that I was doing it. And so the thing is, I kept saying that to myself every day. I remember I kept saying to myself, like, hey, I am rich based on your riches, God. You have given your riches. You are my shepherd, and I shall not want. So you're taking care of my desires. You're taking care of all of my needs. You're doing this exceedingly abundantly above all that I can even ask or think, or like I just kept saying affirmations to myself until I began to start believing it. And then the reason, and for real, I kept saying it, and then I started seeing things happening in my life. And I gave so many examples of that where I drew pictures of things happening and it happened. Like, and then what was that? Visualizing, right? If I drew the picture, what was that? I just drew what I saw in my mind. I drew it out, and guess what? It happened. I told you I drew about my wife getting promotions. She got 3 promotions in 3 months. Not even heard of. I drew about a guy getting out of prison when he had 6 years left, and a judge let him out. The judge was telling him, like, no, we're not going to let you out. I remember this story. She said, I remember this story. I remember this case. We're not letting you go. But I kept on speaking. I kept saying this. I said, Father, I thank you that angels are reminding her of him. Is that wherever she go, if she go drugs, she think about him being free. If she watch a TV show, it's like she can see his face, and it's like, man, I have to free him. When she go to sleep, let him be in her dreams, being free. And then I remember she changed her mind and said, I'm going to let him go. Now, the whole story is a long story, and it's a really good story, but yeah, we got to get through this. Oh, my gosh. We got to get through this. All right, this is a story, and for real, we done. One of the criminals hanging beside him, this was the 2 thieves was on a cross, and it was Jesus, right? So one of the criminals hanging beside him scoffs, so you're the Messiah, are you? Prove it by saving yourself and us too while you're at it. Now, verse 40 says, but the other criminal protested, don't you fear God even when you have been sentenced to die? Next slide. Everything I put in red, I feel like it's very important. We deserve to die for our crimes. That's what one thief said to the other thief. We deserve to die for our crimes. But this man hasn't done anything wrong. I like this. I keep going. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus replied, I assure you today you will be with me in paradise. Now, here's when I want to go back to the first 41 verse. Oh, no, we was right there. We deserve to die for our crimes. So here's the thing. That's the guilt right there. We did something wrong, and we deserve what's happening to us. We deserve to die. But this man hasn't done anything wrong. So the thief is saying that to Jesus. He is saying that to the thief, is saying like, man, Jesus ain't did anything wrong. Now, we deserve to die. We deserve what's going on, but he ain't doing anything wrong. Now, one thing that we've been talking about is what? Getting rid of guilt. Here's how you know that he has gotten rid of guilt is that the next thing he said was, Jesus, remember when you come to your kingdom. So he didn't just say like, oh, Jesus, look, I know I did what I did. I deserve to die. Okay, look, I'm just going to have to die, and whatever happens to me, happens to me. No. He got rid of guilt, knew there was something different about Jesus, and, you know, everybody was mocking him and saying he was the king of the Jews, but there was other people that really seen him as the king of the Jews. So that means that thief looked past everything everybody else saying and saying, oh, no, like, he is the king. And he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. So he saw him in his deity. And Jesus replied, I assure you today you will be with me in paradise. I want to go to the next slide. The thief knew he was guilty, but his guilt only stayed for a short period of time. Once he had an encounter with Jesus, he forgot about guilt and saw himself as described in the promise to Israel. And I'm going to bring up like a promise that was to Israel. The next slide, sorry. All right. For all will know me, from the least to the greatest of them, for I will be merciful to their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more. So at one point of time while he was there, he felt like, hey, we did what we did. We deserve this. But guess what? God is so good that he has wiped all of that away, and he is about to take me to my inheritance. And that's what I just wanted to come and remind you guys tonight. For real, this series is it's so deep because there's so many new things that is different and new, and I wanted to, you know, make it plain just so you can have something to ponder on for next week or next month and for months to come. The thing that I'm just trying to help us to see is that once we remember, and look at all these scriptures, and look at this, all of these were Old Testament, and all of these scriptures in the Old Testament was talking about God remembering their sins no more. If you don't remember anything I said, I just want you to remember is that you are not saved based on how good you are. You are saved based on your belief, your faith. When you believe God exists, that's faith. Because guess what? You're believing in a substance that you have not seen. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Your faith in God is the evidence of things not seen. I like this example. Somebody says, like, we can't see the wind, right? But how do you know it exists? You can feel it, right? You can feel it. And you know, there is moments in our time where we can what? See its effect on people. Like we can see the wind when it's blowing through the trees. Like we can't see like the wind, but we can see the tree's reaction to the wind. So we have never seen the wind, but we know it exists because we can feel it. We have not seen God face to face, but we have felt his presence. We have felt his embrace. We have felt his love, that he is present. So that's the one thing I want you to remember. Next, I just want you to remember, decide what you want. What do you want? What do you want? And like you said, if it's God's will, then what is that? What is that for you? And so then, like you said, if God wants us to live his will, then he wants us to love ourselves. Why? Because Jesus said to love people as we love ourselves. So then, why are you not taking yourself on a date? When the last time you took yourself out on a date? Huh? When did you take yourself to the movies? When the last time you took yourself on a walk in the park? When is the last time that you went and took yourself to a restaurant and you sat there and didn't have to worry about what to buy for anyone else? You finally thought about you. You know, if I go to dinner with my family, I'm going to be thinking about what the kids want and then what my wife wants. You see me? I'm going to put myself last. The thing is that that's how we find ourselves burnt out, because we're always pouring and it's nothing being poured into us. Exactly. That was this whole series was about stop. Like the whole series was, we so focused on like how bad we are and I don't think I deserve this, or I don't know if this could be possible for me, that we never walk into our next. I'm telling you, it's hard to help other people when you're burnt out. I told you, when that person called me soft, it was just like, what? I heard years of what? Soft. So the thing is if I'm building myself up, when they said that, I just be like, yeah, I already know what you're trying to do. But I wasn't strong enough. Why? Because I wasn't building myself up. I wasn't speaking life in myself. You know, if somebody called my daughter ugly and she came to me and said, hey, Daddy, somebody called me ugly, I would look at her and say, they was wrong. Like, I'm looking at you and you're the most beautiful thing I ever seen. And that's how we got to speak about ourselves. When somebody say like, man, no, you can't make it. You can't move up in your job. That's crazy. You can't start a business. You can't prophesy. You can't hear from God. You can't see visions. Like, that's crazy. You can say like, no. These are all the benefits of just being a son and a daughter of God. All of these are just benefits. Like everything that I'm naming, you being healed is a benefit of being a son and a daughter. You healing someone else is being a benefit of being a son and a daughter. You prophesying to yourself is a benefit. Just like you prophesying to somebody else. I'm telling you. For real. Last month, I took myself to the movies 2 times. Myself. I took myself. And when I left the movie, I was like, I was walking like staying alive. Like the disco king. The thing is that once I did that, I was able to go home and I had enough to give. Let's love on ourselves. Come on. Love on yourself. Every time I ask somebody what they want, what do they like to do, they always mention somebody else. Hey, what do you like to do? Oh, I like to take my kids. Hey, what do you like to do? Oh, I like to take my wife. Hey, what do you like to do? Oh, I like to go grab. Oh, me and my brothers go. But it's like, what do you like to do? Those are the questions that we throw away because we do have a family, or we lost ourselves. We lost ourselves based on our jobs. We lost ourselves based on church. Like we started getting involved in church and we just like, man, I'm just giving. And then it was just like, hey, what did you do for yourself? Oh man, you know what? I don't even remember. I don't even remember what I like anymore. I'm for real. I'm just sharing this because it's important. All right, somebody talk to me before we start praying, though. Somebody talk to me. Is anybody online already? If you are, just talk to us. Anybody want to share anything? Here, hold on.
Always, ever that I remember since I was a little girl, always doing, helping, doing, grew up the same thing. And I never had heard it like this, like you have to think about you too. You have to think about you too. And like right now, it was all for me. I always had to be taking care of somebody that was sick, take him to the doctor, take him to groceries, and never did I have time for myself. Always doing for somebody, always. But I got it now. I got it now. This was tonight. I learned that Mary needs to love herself también. Just the way God does. He loves me. And this is what He wants. This helped me a lot. It did. God, it was God that he did it to show me that I was a special child of God too. Not that I had to be used all the time. So I learned that Mary has to think about Mary, love Mary.
Yeah, you gotta find things that make you happy. Or you don't know how to show happiness. You won't even know how to show it. But for real. Some of us, we get used to the schedule where it's just like, we wake up, go to work, come home, chill with the family, go to bed, do it all over again. And we don't see no change. I started playing pickleball on Tuesday. But for a month, I didn't go. Because I said, oh, it was going to take away from me and my family. But I was just like, ever since I've been playing, now I've been going now. Ever since I've been playing, I've been coming home happier. Like, now when I see my kids, I'm like, oh, come here, let's go. What do you want to do? But before, when I just come home from work, I just be like, hey, go get your iPads, please. Just go in there, please. Like, they first come, I hug on them, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, I need some time to myself. But it was like now when I start doing more things that was building me up, bringing me joy, then when I go home, all I want to do is pour it out. I'm full. I just want to pour it out. I saw some good movies, and once I left, I was just like, where is people? I want to pour my love out on everybody. That's people. For real, I remember somebody was looking at me just like, why are you smiling? Ain't nothing going on. You're just walking. And they're just like, I'm happy. Man, God wants us to be happy. God wants you to be happy. I don't know where that word came from that God don't want you to be happy. That's not a good father to me. A good father is like, Michael, what do you want? Because I want to make you happy. You know the crazy thing is my wife do not like me buying any more toys for my girls. But I keep doing it. You know why? Because they face when I give it to them. Once I give it to them, they just light up. And I was just like, let me do it again. Let me give, where's another toy? I got to give them something else. I just like seeing them that way. It's not like they didn't need it. They to the point where they don't even need it anymore. But the real good father is about abundance, leftovers. That's the father. The father is past, you need it? No, I'll just give you enough. No, the father is like, let me just keep on. To the point where you mature and say, I have so much that I can just give. The only reason why he went to the rich young ruler and said, hey, give everything, he never said like, yo, nothing else was coming back. He just wanted to be like, bro, you're so rich. Give. You got abundance. Give. Oh, okay. Is it making sense? All right, turn up the music. Thank you, man. If you can. Yeah, turn it up for me.